Hey guys, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us today is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody, and thank you for the few of you who decided to not watch the hearings going on in Congress right now and watching us instead. We're really glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also joining us, Mark Ellis.
This is much more important, John.
It
okay?
is.
I don't know what's happening in the free world, but all I know is that there's some sort of cosmic thing going on in the Marvel world.
Also joining us, Perri Nemiroff.
There's also some dark mummy-ish kind of thing going on in the dark universe world. Thank you to everybody who came out to that screening that we hosted. It was really nice getting to meet a whole bunch of people that worked in that the Lincoln Square Theater, which I love. So thank you guys for being there.
And rounding off our panel today, Kristian Harloff.
I enjoy ahi tuna nachos.
They are delightful
Yeah.
over at Yard House. They're
Yeah,
very,
they're
very
really
good
good.
at Yard
Yeah, they're
House.
like $17 per chip. Very, very pricey.
Delicious. You didn't even try one. It's worth the price.
Yeah, I'll try it when they cook the food on them.
See, but now you're going old school. That's silly.
Now
You're
you're
going
going
old school.
Old school nachos do not have
No,
fish
I'm talking
on.
about your mentality's old school.
By the way, Natasha, that's a really nice color you were into.
Thank
I like that color. You don't
I
see
kind of
that
feel
color on
like
clothing a lot.
Princess Jasmine a little
Thanks,
bit.
John. I'm trying out a new color today, too. Not going to
Is
talk
that
about
Journey? Who is that? Oh, is it
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
All right, we got a few things to get through today, so let's get started.
Just before the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in April, James Gunn confirmed that he would write and direct Volume 3. Now he reveals in an interview with IGN that he will also work with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige to help oversee the future of the entire cosmic universe in the MCU. Gunn told IGN, "We talk about it all the time. It's already a part of what I'm doing with Marvel and the conversations that Kevin and I have every day. When we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and that story, it's a story that will lead to other stories. It's innate to the DNA that's the end of a trilogy, but it's the beginning of a whole other element of the Marvel cosmic universe. That's a part of what I'm doing now." John, what are your thoughts on James Gunn building the Marvel cosmic universe at Marvel?
Well, we talked the other day about how DC and Warner Brothers has really slowly been starting to accumulate this really good brain trust of filmmakers over there, whether you're talking about a Patty Jenkins, Joss Whedon is in there now, and I forgot his name yesterday too, our Aquaman director.
James Wan.
James Wan. I mean, we started to get this collection, this really good brain trust together, and I think it's really what they were doing. Marvel already has James Gunn under the roof, and he's done such a good job with quote-unquote launching their cosmic Marvel universe with Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as much as I like Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but I still found it really entertaining. So for them to kind of enlist him to be a part of charting the overall direction of this cosmic universe. The more interesting thing to me, though, other than getting James Gunn to do that, which is a great move, I think, is the fact that they've pretty much now just confirmed they have wider plans for the Marvel cosmic universe outside of just Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with that. Anyway, Mark, you hear about all this. What do you think?
I'm surprised, John. I thought after failure in the MCU, they just scrap it entirely. They want to keep making movies in this world. Of course you do. Yeah, it's going to be a nice closure to a trilogy, but because you know you're going to have fans asking, oh, what's next, what next, you should probably have plans in place. So James Gunn is a guy who is clearly not just passionate about Guardians of the Galaxy, but also the way it factors into the MCU as a whole, and that's something that all of us fans are just kind of chomping at the bit to go see Infinity War, because we want to see all these characters together, and exactly if Thanos is the big baddie, if there's another big baddie above Thanos, and I think you're going to get to explore a lot of that stuff. Now, whether that happens before or after Guardians 3, I cannot imagine that Guardians 3 closes any doors, or at least does so without leaving windows open.
Perri.
Yeah, this just makes total sense to me. I mean, look how successful Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is. It might be the biggest movie of the summer
We'll see.
season.
In your face.
It's not going to be.
But it is hugely successful. So obviously they're going to want to keep James Gunn close. And also the Guardians of the Galaxy breakout line at Disneyland, huge following, huge line every single day. Clearly people love what he created, and also it kind of goes back to what you were just saying. What he created is opening so many doors for everything that's to come. I mean, it's because he was such a small part in it, it's almost easy to forget that James Gunn is the person that introduced Thanos to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you remember when we were covering those quotes recently when, I forgot who said it, but that they were...
Joss Whedon did it with Avengers.
Well, but he was really part of...
he was truly a part of Guardians.
He introduced
Yes.
him, but he was
Thanos'
part of
big
the
break, if you
actual...
will.
He gave him
was-
this break, yes.
He was actually part of the feature film, like the actual
Right.
movie. Yeah, the story of that. But was also like those quotes that we were covering recently where they were talking about how they're going to maybe abandon the whole phase whatever, not call it phase 4. And now I'm starting to think that maybe they're shifting from Marvel's cinematic universe. I mean, this doesn't actually make much sense because cinematic and cosmic, you can't really compare that. But maybe instead of a phase whatever, they're going to focus more on the Marvel cosmic universe. And that's kind of how the franchise is going to shift. And if that's the case, it would make sense to hold tight to someone like James Gunn, who's kind of laid the groundwork for a shift like that. And who in his last movie has teased one or two things that are going to be very important to characters and movies that are coming. So, smart move. I'm a big James Gunn fan. I love this.
Kristian.
He's got a clear vision of what he wants to do with this with this property. So, and he's very invested in it. And even though it's going to be the number 2 movie of the entire summer, Perri, it makes a lot of sense for them to do this. I think that. It reminds me a little bit different, but it reminds me a little bit of when Tim Burton had the '89 Batman, and they released that comic book afterwards too, just kind of relating into the entire universe. And I think there's more things that they can do, obviously, with Marvel because it's a bigger universe at this point with all the movies attached to them. But I think that with James Gunn, knowing what he does, and regardless, I mean, I'm seeing the comments too. I think it's split as far as what you thought. Some people thought it was just good. Some people thought it was just as great as the first one. Some people thought it stunk. It doesn't matter though because it made a lot of cash, and it also is something to where he is invested in it completely. He wasn't mailing. Even though I didn't love it as much as everybody else did, I don't think for a second that James Gunn was mailing it in or not invested in it. He was invested in the vision that he had for the movie. That's what you saw, and I think that'll carry over in this cosmic universe here too.
I know I bring this up all the time whenever James Gunn comes up, but I am still just devastated by how many people have not yet watched what I believe is James Gunn's actual best film. As much as I love Guardians of the Galaxy, if you have not watched Slither, and I know the vast majority of you have not watched Slither, watch Slither. I think it is the greatest example of how good of a storyteller James Gunn can actually be. So treat yourself and check that out. All right, what's next?
Sony Pictures Home Entertainment recently announced that they would be launching a clean version initiative, allowing viewers to screen edited versions of 24 Sony films. The studio will make broadcast TV and airline versions of the 24 titles available for consumers who purchase films in its original form off their iTunes, Vudu, and Fandango now. Seth Rogen, who produced and starred in Sony's The Interview and Sausage Party, took to Twitter following the announcement, tweeting, "Not so subtly, holy shadoobies, please don't do this to our movies. Thanks." In a statement released by Sony, the studio said, "The clean version allows viewing for a wider audience, giving people the chance to watch their favorite films together. Clean version movies can be accessed with purchase of the theatrical versions." Ellis, what do you think about Sony offering clean versions of their movies?
I think this is why I don't like kids. Because if you have a family, now you have to watch your favorite movies, but you can't watch it the true way you want. I don't think this is like the biggest issue in the world in relation to censorship because you can clearly still get whatever version of a movie you want. This is more for families that want to watch something together where, if you see Showgirls on TNT, it's a very different movie than if you just watch it. It's a lot not good of a movie either way. But when you watch the clean version of something, I think you would imagine because you have a little kid and you don't want them to see everything. So it's up to a parent's discretion, I guess, or a drunk uncle's discretion, how much your 5-year-old is going to be seeing whatever version of the movie you want. So it doesn't really get on my radar a lot because I don't have kids, John, as far as I know.
It drives me, as far as I know, it drives me crazy when people take issues like this and try to throw the censorship word into it, because that represents to me a fundamental misunderstanding what censorship is. Censorship is when you are prohibited from watching what you want to watch, when you are prohibited from making what you want to make. There is no censorship here at all. People have, if you listen to the story correctly, Sony is selling the full version of the movie. And then, as a consumer, nothing is being censored to you. You have the choice as a consumer if you want to watch that version or if you want to watch the edited version. Now, I may have an opinion about whether you should watch the original version or the edited version, but that's not my choice. That's your choice. And giving the consumer a choice, maybe one thing, maybe another, might be good, it might be bad, but it is not censorship by any stretch or definition. And I think if this was a matter of Sony saying, let's take Sausage Party, for example, a movie that was funny for the first 5 and the last 5 minutes. If they want to take a movie like Sausage Party and say, we're only going to release this in a family-friendly 3.5-minute version. If they were doing that and they weren't giving the consumer the choice about what they wanted, that could be construed as censorship. But them saying, if you buy the full movie, we're going to give you the option if you want to watch it in a family-friendly environment with a cut-down version. You've bought the full thing. It's your movie. You have the right to watch it whatever way you want. Again, I don't think you should watch it that way, but it's your choice. So I don't see a problem with it. What do you
I'm
think?
confused, though, and answer this question as I'm legitimately asking this question. What is the difference between this version or if they put it on, like, TBS or something? You know, when movies
I
have
think
been
that's the version they're basically
think
That's what
giving
I'm
it's the
you.
saying.
same,
So
yeah.
like it's been happening for years upon years. They're just selling that version. So it's like back in the day, if you're a VCR player and you can't get it yet, the only way you can record, Beverly Hills Cop is when it's on TBS and you record it. That's the version that you have now on your player, and they're selling it because let's also call it what it is. Sony's trying to make a little extra money, and
It's
so
a
free
business.
though.
It's-
It's free.
yeah, but they're putting it in there too. But by putting the clean version on there, it maybe entices
More
more people
enticing, yeah.
to buy it. So, but I also understand Seth Rogen's point on this. As an artist, it's just like, come on, don't clean it. The same way that I don't like watching Beverly Hills Cop on TBS because it takes out a lot of the jokes. It's not the movie that was intended to be there. But I also understand why they put it on there. Now, as far as kids go, I don't need my kid to ever watch Sausage Party if it's a clean version or a dirty version. It doesn't need to happen. But other people might not feel that way. But I do understand Seth Rogen's point. It's just like, that's not the movie, because even there was something I was watching the other day that we all worked on, and the sound levels were different. Just the sound levels, and that was brought up right away. Just know that the sound levels aren't ready yet. It's going to be worked on later. And it affected it. I know it affected it. And I was like, I wish they wouldn't have shown this yet until the sound levels were down. So as an artist, I understand that, but you have to do certain things a certain way.
Yeah, the key word on this thing for me is when they say that this comes free with the original version of the movie, because that seems totally fine to me as long as you have the choice to watch the cut that the filmmakers intended or a cut for your kids. And as someone who's made a film, and especially in film school, because there's a lot of situations where you go through exercises where you're taught to work with your classmates. So it'll be like you shoot the footage and then you give it to a classmate. That was one of the most mortifying assignments I ever had. You shoot it, you write it, and you shoot it yourself, and then you give it to someone else to edit. And seeing what they construct with what you originally intended, that can be a mortifying experience where they could completely shift your vision. And having grown up watching a lot of movies on TV that I loved in their original theatrical cut, even when you hear one, bad word dubbed with another word, you can't help but to go, oh, that clearly sounds wrong. So again, like you, Kristian, I understand where Seth Rogen's coming from, but it's people's choice. These cuts exist. And then there's also those third-party companies that are pretty much doing the same exact thing, but I know they have trouble with lawsuits and getting the rights to do these kinds of things with movies to make, no matter what kind of parent you are. Sausage Party is not on this list, but if for whatever reason you woke up one morning and you're like, I want to show her Step Brothers, I don't know why you would say that,
Right.
but for the parents out there who might love Step Brothers and want to share that with their kids, but know that the original cut is not appropriate, if they wanted to log on and use one of these third-party things to show them that, I can understand why Sony might want to bypass that, release their own official version of that cut of the movie, so that people can then share it with their family. So, I don't know. I understand Seth Rogen, but at the same time, this does not seem like a reason to be like, oh my God, this is going to ruin movies for everybody.
Yeah, look, I'm totally anti-censorship, but when I'm watching movies on planes, part of me wishes that American Airlines still edited them, because American Airlines, when you watch them, they just show you the movie now. You can choose what movie you want to watch, and if there's boobs in it, they're going to show you all the boobs. And it's a little weird when you're watching a movie and you're sitting next to like a kid, and it's like, no, I felt like watching Showgirls. I felt like watching that on the airplane, and so now some kid, it's the worst thing ever. You try to fast forward, and then you miss half the story. I watched a Game of Thrones episode on a plane one time. Not something I'd recommend. You're always worried about the other eyeballs checking it out.
All right. Well, listen, it is Thursday, which means we like to talk about the movies that are opening up in theaters this week. There are a couple others other than The Mummy, which we covered on Tuesday, coming out. Natasha, tell us about them.
Megan Levy is coming out. When young Marine Corporal Megan Levy, played by Kate Mara, is assigned to clean up the K-9 unit after a disciplinary hearing, she identifies with a particular aggressive dog, Rex, and is given the chance to train him. Meg and Rex complete more than 100 missions, but an IED explosion injures them and puts their fate in jeopardy. It Comes at Night is also coming out. Secured within a desolate home as an unnatural threat terrorizes the world, the tenuous order a man played by Joel Egerton has established with his wife and son is put to the ultimate test with the arrival of a desperate family seeking refuge.
As far as Megan Levy goes, I feel like that movie came out twice last year. I swear, I think there were 2 movies last year about a military dog and
Wasn't it Max was the movie?
I think
Yeah.
Max was one, and I could have sworn there was another one too. So on that basis alone, I don't have a lot. Even I love Kate Mara and I love dogs. I'm a dog guy. I've always had dogs my whole life. Not a lot about that is appealing to me. Not to mention the studios have pretty much buried this thing. I didn't see a single ad for it till about 2 days ago. To me, if I'm going to see anything else other than The Mummy, it's going to be It Comes at Night, because I haven't seen it yet. I know somebody at this table has seen it.
2 people.
And or 2 people. Yeah. I've heard pretty decent things about it. So I know that Perri, I mean, clearly, if you had to recommend to somebody, hey, I can only either go see Megan Levy this weekend or see It Comes at Night, which would you suggest?
It should be so obvious, not just because I love It Comes at Night, but also because I am not seeing another sad dog movie. A Dog's Purpose has filled that quota for like the next decade of my life. I actually know a little about the story because they did the very first movie premiere at Yankee Stadium, and it was for Megan Levy. So while I was in New York for The Mummy, I was watching all the local news reports about it, and I mean, it is an incredible true story. So I think if you're interested in that, maybe it's well worth seeing, but I'm sensitive. I don't want to see it. Dog's Purpose kind of scarred me. It Comes at Night, though, very special movie. You should, I highly recommend seeing it if you are somewhat aware of what it is. My biggest fear with It Comes at Night, because I've seen a couple friends react this way, is they'll go in and they'll kind of ignore the fact that it's an A24 type movie. That is not a traditional horror movie. It is not about like a zombie outbreak and, you know, people jumping from building to building, having big action sequences, anything like that. It is exactly what the trailers have been presenting, and it is about what a family does, the lengths they go to keep their loved ones alive. And if you are okay with a really heated family drama, really tense family drama, that is a genre. Genre. Oh my God, the Hollow genre. I almost forgot about that. If you're okay with that being packaged as a horror movie, you're going to like it. I want to put it on the same level as The Witch.
Mark?
Okay, look, I saw It Comes at Night, and I also love the movie. However, I totally disagree with this pundit right here that the trailers sell you on what the movie is. It's a very different movie than what the trailers sell it as. This is almost an M. Night Shyamalan The Village situation, where I saw the trailer and I went expecting one kind of movie. I got a different kind of movie. I'm very satisfied with that film I got, though. The performances are so good. The director, Schultz, it's a really personal story to him that he wrote a couple days after his father passed away. So you can tell with every glimpse of this movie, every frame of this is so expertly crafted, and the way that it builds, a lot of movies in this genre will tend to want to fast track it and kind of hit the gas in the third act. It never has that temptation. It always stays true to the story it's trying to tell. On the Megan Levy situation, I'd actually like to see this movie because Max, I like what they were going for, where it's like the dog who had PTSD, so he's like back home now. I want to see these dogs in action. I had the opportunity to go to the Middle East, entertain the troops, and I got to meet some of those dogs there, and they are awesome because they're just like cool German Shepherds like the one I grew up with, and then they snap their fingers, and they are just like, they're stone cold killers. It's a fascinating transformation to watch, so I'd kind of like to check out Megan Levy.
It's much like this guy when there's no coffee in the office. Kristian.
Very true, or food. Actually, the funny thing is that It Comes at Night, from what I saw in the trailers, I was like, it's another kind of heart thrill. And I actually heard from a couple people, Perri, sorry.
Wait. Can
hold
I
on.
just ask you a question, Ellis?
Kristian is talking, Perri.
I want to know which trailers you actually saw.
All of them, man. I saw,
Really?
I saw a bunch of the trailers
I
also.
think there's 3 trailers. 1 and 3, I think, well represent the movie. It's the second one that I think is what you were just explaining.
Well,
Maybe.
but I will say, though, I actually like the fact that it's going to be a different movie because from just another generic kind of horror film. And then from a lot of different people, not just Mark. I actually heard the opposite, that it's not what you're supposed to get. Like what you think you're getting in that trailer is not what you're getting. And I like Joel Edgerton, so that's exactly kind of why I want to go and see this movie. And I think that the other thing with as far as Megan Levy goes, I don't know what to expect. It could be one of those movies that knocks you on your ass, or it could be just one of these forgettable movies that's buried. What happened?
I don't know. I was looking over this way. Let's go to Kristian Shaw for a second. For whatever, you know how on movie posters they have critic quotes underneath it? I looked over here, and right here it says "summer" with I thought it said "bummer" with a critic quote underneath it. So just for a second I thought, why would they put that on the poster? But yeah. No, never mind.
Sometimes it's okay to keep things inside.
I just chuckled when I saw that. I said, "The Mummy, Bummer" by Kristian Harloff. All right, we've moved on now, folks, to this part of the show that we call Buy or Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Natasha's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell. So, Natasha, what do we got?
Entertainment Weekly debuted the very first look at Disney's upcoming 50 years after the fact sequel to Mary Poppins entitled Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh, good!
Yay! The images show off Emily Blunt as the ageless magical nanny Mary Poppins, along with Lin-Manuel Miranda's Jack, a London lamplighter who's the protege of Dick Van Dyke's Bert from the original movie. Mary Poppins Returns is directed by Into the Woods' Rob Marshall and picks up 25 years after the events of the first film. It opens in theaters on December 18th, 2018. Kristian, buy or sell the first look images from Mary Poppins Returns?
Well, I'll do it because I know Ellis won't. I'm buying it big time, and I think you're just going to sell it to be grouchy. It looks great. She looks great as Mary Poppins, and I think the actual shots from what we're seeing here so far in the Entertainment Weekly looks exactly like I hope and I would envision that Mary Poppins will look like. I think it's going to be a new version for a new generation, and I'm excited for it. I really am. I think it could be a lot of fun, and I think Disney could do some fun things with this.
I almost hesitate, but Mark.
How many different ways can I not care about this at all, John? I do not care about Mary Poppins or coming back to the big screen. Having said that, I'll buy it.
Whoa.
I'll buy it begrudgingly because the cover photo in particular, like that's a cool looking. I don't want to say cool. That's way too strong. But it's like Emily Blunt looks kind of magical. I'll give her that. The shots look like they belong in a Disney live-action musical. I just personally don't care about another Mary Poppins movie. I didn't ask for it, Kristian. I wasn't at home writing them and being like, please make another Mary Poppins movie.
Now, you were asking for an Alf movie.
They took posts. I would love to see an Alf movie about his home world on Melmac.
Yeah,
had the turmoil he went through
true.
buying that pack of gum just before his home planet exploded. Here is something that, like, okay, look, they're making a good production, John. They're clearly putting a lot of values into this, and I will say this. Entertainment Weekly does not always have the best history when it comes to photo shoots of movies. Look no further than Terminator Jenny Smith. This actually looks like a pretty good representation of what the movie's going to be, so I'll buy it.
Perri.
I am definitely going to buy it. And I love Mary Poppins. When they first announced the sequel, I was kind of with you. Why? Why do we need this now? These images kind of changed my tune a little, though, because the second I saw these, I was scrolling through Twitter on my phone, and the first image I saw was that top one there. And you know what that says to me? It says magical and fun. And who doesn't want magic and fun in their lives? And I'll agree, too. That's a really striking cover for Entertainment Weekly. It's probably one of the best ones I've seen in a while. Looks like it's going to well represent the movie. And when you look through those the photos, the actual photos from the set are great. My favorite ones, which I would actually print out and hang up on my wall, are the two pieces of concept art at the bottom. Those are just fantastic looking.
Yeah, the top and the bottom one, they look like hippies trying to break into a government building.
So
Maybe that's the plot.
What's your point?
Wow.
Maybe that's the plot.
Hippies shouldn't break into government buildings.
Unless
Who
they're good
doesn't
hippies.
want magic and fun in their lives? Sounds like something that Ken Knapsack would put on his Twitter profile or Tinder, as the case may be. All right, what's next?
Pixar has released a new trailer for their animated family film entitled Coco. The story follows Miguel, voiced by Anthony Gonzalez, an aspiring musician who teams up with the charming trickster Hector, voiced by Gael Garcia Bernal, to go on an extraordinary journey through the land of the dead. The full cast list was also announced, featuring the voices of Benjamin Bratt, Edward James Olmos, Gabriel Iglesias, and Cheech Marin. It opens later this year on November 22nd. Perri, buy or sell the new trailer for Coco?
I am going to buy it, and I know what a lot of people are thinking, because we already talked about it a little before we started taping, is that this looks a lot like The Book of Life. It does. It obviously does. It's similar subject matter, and the visuals and the color palette are very similar. That's not to say that Pixar can't make a great movie set in this world, though. And the visuals in this trailer look absolutely stunning. I'm in the process right now of rewatching every single Pixar movie. And I don't want to put down Toy Story, but it's like when you go back to the very beginning, you could totally see how important, the layout and how important the DP's work is and the lighting. And you could see all of that here with even this image behind us right now, the little flecks on the floor. You couldn't do this when Pixar first started, and you can see when you go back and you rewatch them all how they add just a little more depth to every single movie that they do. I'm just talking visually, not story-wise, and you see that all come to life here. I can already tell I'm going to like this character. Obviously, I'm going to like his dog. The music sounds great. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a buy. I think it looks charming. I think it looks like characters we're really going to get connected to. It reminds me, here's the funny thing. I remember the last film that wasn't titled Cars, didn't have the word cars in it, from Pixar that I doubted was Up. I didn't think that movie looked all that good and whatever. And then, then the first 5 minutes of the movie happened and you completely change your mind.
Yeah, guy's wife dies. Zany.
Zany.
But, and so with Coco, I remember I kind of felt the same way first when I first read about it. And then the first trailer dropped. I thought, this is really creative. And then I saw more of the heart, I guess you say, in this one. My one question mark about the film is this. I wonder, and this speaks nothing to the quality of the film. I do wonder how many parents because I'm not a parent, but how many parents are going to want to take their kid to a movie that the subject matter is the land of the dead. Like and I'm not saying there are parents should or shouldn't. I'm not saying they will or they won't. I'm just saying I'm wondering what the response to that is going to be. So, and I know the people at Pixar probably know that was going to be a roll of the dice. So bravo to them for wanting to go ahead with a story that they believed in, even though there's probably some question marks about how the market will react to it. But that's the one I'm curious about. I don't know, Kristian, you are a dad. What do you think about this?
That's the point I was going with it. I'll tentatively buy the trailer, and I'll tell you why. Is that the trailer itself it's a good trailer, and you do have the feels are there for sure, and it looks like a well put together Pixar movie because they know how to make quality movies. I'm selling the fact that I want to see it. I don't really want to see it because I do think it's very important that they made Book of Life. It's because I don't agree with the fact at all that it's just like, well, yes, someone else made it. They can do it too. They shouldn't be doing that. They're Pixar. They should be doing more original stuff like Moana, and they should be doing more things along that nature. And I've seen this movie before, and I think that the point with like you're talking about, I always look at things, movies like this, to see if my daughter. I'm not going to take my daughter to see this. Not now. She would be terrified by those skeletons and everything at this point. She's 5, but now I think you're limiting your audience. That's not to say a 10-year-old is now not going to love this. Maybe that's the audience they're going for. You're exactly right. But this particular trailer, I see it, and I just it doesn't reach out that this is the next big Pixar movie. That being said, I could see this movie and go, boy, was I wrong. Pixar's done it again because that's the type of movies and that's the type of talent that they're working with over there. But watching this trailer just not do anything to me because I've seen it before. Book of Life was really good, and I wouldn't have taken my daughter to see that one either.
Yeah, I mean, according to a text I just received, I may actually have kids, and I don't think I would take them to see this, but I would rather have a movie that's fun, like a Pixar movie, explain to my kids the concept of death. Then I don't have to do anything.
Well,
Sorry,
it's kind of like Inside Out,
real
where
quick?
it's
Yeah,
a
it's
very
like, this is
good
what
way
emotions
to
are
explain
like.
emotions.
I'm aware that Moana is Disney, by the way, too, but it's the same studio. So Disney, Pixar, what they're doing over there in general, Pixar should follow Disney's side of things and do more original.
You're talking
stuff.
about any Burbank-based animation.
No, but they're
That's-
same. It's the same family. So like that's what I mean though too, because right away you say wait, that's not.
John Lasseter is the creative head of both Disney Animation
Right.
and Pixar, so it's
Right.
really it's the
And
same
he wears
thing at this point.
fantastic clothing. I think that for this, the dog is great. I buy the trailer because it did get me intrigued in this world. And when you put the Pixar stamp on it, there's not a lot of things that I wouldn't buy. I love the scene where the kid he picks up the guitar and he strums it for the first time like a young Ted Theodore Logan, and he gets into this like other world. I want to see what that world looks like through the eyes of Pixar because, like Perri said, the animation has come so far from where they started out way back in 1995 that I want to see the new ground they can break. I got some Beetlejuice vibes in addition to the Book of Life watching this because they're going to an afterlife, and I want to see how that works. Plus, you get Cheech and Fluffy in one movie. I'm in.
All right, guys, so I want to remind you that Movie Talk is not the only show up on Collider Video today. A little bit later today, Kristian Harloff and his gang with Jedi Council goes up. All things Star Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to want to make sure you tune in and watch that show. Also, yesterday, a brand new episode of Collider Nightmares went up, so make sure you go over there and check that out as well. A little bit later tomorrow, a brand new episode of the movie Trivia Schmodown goes up. We got Rachel Cushing against Nick Scarpino. And, of course, a brand new episode went up on Tuesday with the Fatal Five-Way in the Inner Geekdom division. You're going to want to go and check that out as well. And, of course, every Friday, new episodes of Awesome-tacular with Jeremy Johns on the Verizon Go 90 network. Go and check those out as well. Well, we do this show live, and as we do it live, we like to save a little bit of a few minutes at the end of the show to take your live Twitter questions. So you can start firing in some Twitter questions right now if you're watching live. Just make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video and send them in. Wendy will pick a couple out. But first, we're going to go to the mailbag. So, Natasha, what's in the mailbag?
Marcelo writes, which franchise at this moment do you think will be more financially viable as well as get better critical reception? Universal's Dark Universe, which has the next installment of Bride of Frankenstein, or Warner Brothers' Monsterverse with Kong and Godzilla, which will culminate in Wingard's epic Kong versus Godzilla.
Difficult to say at this point. I really enjoyed King Kong. I didn't think it was it's not going to be top 15 of the year for me, but I had a good time watching it. I had fun watching it. I also had, even though it's getting some negative critical response right now, I had fun with The Mummy as well. If you had to pick one, I'd probably go with Kong and Godzilla at this point. The giant monsters mashing up cities is probably going to be too delectable for audiences to resist. But remember, those are just two characters, so they're going to be two very different movie universes, if you will. But if I had to say, put money on one right now, maybe Kong and Godzilla. What do you think?
I think it's a no-brainer at this point. I think it's Kong and Godzilla. I really think Godzilla came out of the gate and did pretty well. Kong Skull Island, whatever you think about it, did pretty good, and I think once you put those two animals fighting one another, that's going to do really good. Godzilla 2 is going to deliver, and if they do another Kong movie and whatever they add into the universe, I think they just have right now, and not that they don't have iconic monsters and Dracula and all these Frankenstein and all these things that they have over there, iconic obviously, but I think the first one out of the gate with The Mummy, critically not doing so great yet. So it's just an easier horse to bet on with Godzilla and Kong.
Yeah, if you're betting, I would definitely bet on Kong and Godzilla right now. I really don't think this is even a question you need to spend much time considering, because now that the reviews are kind of out and, tracking numbers, I know we don't like to rely on them, but the tracking numbers, we're getting close already. The Mummy's probably only going to make between 35 and 40 opening domestic. And that's not a very big number. And I know we talk about relying on the international box office, and Tom Cruise is a big international star, but surprise, I have facts and numbers. If you look at some of his other movies, like Oblivion, opened with 37 million domestic. That went on to make only 89 million at the domestic box office, and then it made 197 worldwide. If you compare that to what Kong Skull Island made, that's 565 million worldwide. Godzilla made 529 worldwide. They are in completely different leagues, and then you have to go to Rotten Tomatoes now, too. Both of those movies, the Kong and the Godzilla movies, have scores in the 70s. I don't even know what The Mummy's at right now. And I didn't dislike The Mummy. I had some fun with The Mummy, and there's a lot of things in that Mummy movie that make me think that the Dark Universe has potential, but it's not a complete package. Whereas those movies, I think, they're better done. And I think the public has responded that way.
Mark.
Well, John, unlike Perri, I didn't bring fractions, but I will tell you this. I bring sweaty passion, and the answer is Kong versus Godzilla. Here's the question, though. So you're going to have Godzilla Part 2, and that's going to introduce other monsters in the world of Godzilla. Maybe we get like a Rodan or Gadir or somebody like that. But after you have Kong and Godzilla fight the first time, there's only so many fights that we can have them do in movies, and trust me, I'd pay to see all of them. With the Dark Universe, there's more monsters you can introduce. So I think you have the opportunity for more sequels and stuff like that, assuming both of them are profitable franchises. So as much as I'm intrigued by what other treasures lie within the Dark Universe, come on, man, you got to go with Kong and Godzilla, and the smart money says Kong wins in 7 games.
Kong, Godzilla, they're Warner Brothers properties, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So after Kong v. Godzilla, you have Kong v. Godzilla v. Superman.
I don't
Right.
hate that concept, and I'm still betting on Kong.
Now you have a cinematic universe of cinematic universes.
Okay, then we can put Mary Poppins in there too. I see where you're going.
But Mary Poppins probably wins that fight because she's got magic.
She can sit on a cloud and just watch it. She's got
Well,
a good seat.
Mary Poppins already crosses over with Guardians, so that's their cinematic universe within a cinematic universe.
you
No?
go.
She just makes
No?
all the monsters sing stupid songs. It'd be great.
I'd watch that.
All right. Well, I said we would save a little bit of time to get to your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. Wendy, what have you picked out?
The first one comes from D. Firms, who writes, a few days ago, you guys were talking about the actors who don't get enough roles and who are going to be big stars. So what happened to Brendan Fraser?
What do you mean?
If I understand it right, first of all, I quite enjoy Brendan Fraser movies. Whenever he's in a movie, I like watching him in it. I think he's a really good performer.
It's like a weird opener at a dinner party.
However, if I understand the story right, and I could be understanding it completely wrong, I think one of the things that side-railed Brendan Fraser's career, and I might be getting this story completely wrong, so please forgive me if I am, but he did that movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth, right? And then I think he refused to come back for the sequel when they wanted to do it, and so they went out and then they got The Rock. And I think that turned a particular studio or two, from what I read, that turned some studios off of working with him, and it's been difficult for him ever since. Now, I could have that story completely wrong, and forgive me if I do. But the dude's a talented dude. I've liked him in just about everything I've seen him in. Doesn't mean I liked every movie he's been in, but I've always enjoyed him. I loved him as George of the Jungle.
Yes, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I really
So
like
good.
that movie too. It's a movie that gave me a crush on Judd Apatow's wife. What's
Leslie
Leslie
Mann.
Leslie Mann. I
Yeah.
total crush on Leslie Mann after that.
This is, I mean, Hollywood's a business also of image. It is. And especially when you're a leading man, like in the Georgia jungle, Brendan Fraser looks significantly different now than he did back then.
Yes.
It's not to say he shouldn't be acting, but he's not going to be leading movies anytime soon. He was just in The Affair, the season 3.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he played like kind of a creepy character, and he's got like a creepy look to him now. He just, I mean, he does. I mean, that's why he was cast. But I mean, and it worked. And I say that because he was great in the show. He was really good, and he does have acting chops. But he's not going to be doing leading man stuff any soon. I think he should be doing more roles like this because he fit in very well with it. I think that he's got dramatic chops. He pops in these movies here and there. His career's not done. But I also heard that he was, and this is great, and I can relate to it. He wanted to spend more time with his family, I thought, too. It's one of the things I had heard. And if that's the case, then good on him. And he should be getting more roles. I just don't think the Brendan Fraser that we used to see 15, 20 years ago is going to happen anymore. I think he's going to be doing these side roles, these different roles, and these supporting character roles, and he'll have a career for a while.
I think
Perri.
we need Encino Man. X amount of years later, right?
Yeah.
How many years ago was
they
that?
promised us a sequel at the end of that movie. Stoney says, I'll be back, and we never gotten a sequel. We need more Link.
I freaking love that movie. I was surprised how many people after the Mummy event tweeted at me and they're like, oh, does Brendan Fraser have a cameo? I mean, clearly he has a lot of beloved movies on his resume. I feel like the guy just needs, that really something special. And you never know. He could take an independent movie and really pop in something and be right back in play. So I think it's just a matter of, picking a project that suits where he's at right now.
I'll throw $5 on it right now. Anybody want to take me up on this? I bet you before it's all said and done, Brendan Fraser plays Al Gore in some sort of biopic movie. Now, it might not be about Al Gore, but if Al Gore is in a story that is being told on the big screen, you hire Brendan Fraser on the spot.
All right, what's next?
This next one comes from Nolan Dean 27, who writes, there are a lot of source materials to Mary Poppins. If the new movie is successful, do you see it becoming a franchise, a.k.a. Martinez's worst nightmare?
I don't really want to see that happen, but it's a business. And if a movie does, if Mary Poppins comes out and makes $400 million worldwide, guess what? There's going to be another Mary Poppins movie. So it's hard to say, too, whether I really do or don't want one because I haven't seen the new one yet. And that'll determine whether or not I want it. So it's possible. Mark?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Perri?
Anything is possible, but given their track record, I mean, they haven't officially announced any sequels to any of their classic reimaginings, have they? So, I don't know. They have so many things lined up to actually make down the line where it's the first reimagining, so I don't know. I lean against it.
Possible, and I love the fact that the studio hasn't come out and gone, we're going to do 8 Mary Poppins movies. That seems to be a trend right now. It's if it does very well, and very well, they have this material, they can sit back and they can go, let's do another one. It seems like the audience wants another one because what the goal should be is to change your mind when you see the movie to go, I actually would like to see another.
Yeah.
That's the goal. If you can get people who just say, Because if Mark Ellis comes out of that thing going, crap, not only did I love that, I want to see another one, that's when they go, put another one. Just because Mark Ellis liked it. That's it.
I want
another
more
one.
penguins. If you give me more of the penguins, I want more and more animated penguins. If the penguins don't have at least 30 minutes of screen time in Mary Poppins Returns, it's a waste.
All right.
And then, of course, if they do their like dark spin-off, Rise of the Chimney Sweepers or something
See,
like
now
that.
you're talking. Now you're making box office sense.
All right, last question of the day.
All right, this one comes from Brandon Bush, who writes, typically, how far in advance of chosen release dates are films completed, and why not release sooner?
Oh boy, I mean, it runs. Sometimes movies are done like a year and a half before their release date. Sometimes the director is literally putting the final touches on 15 minutes before the premiere. I mean, it really differs. But why not just release it when it's done? Because they have a strategy. It is a business. They have scientific formulas for this thing about knowing what types of movies will play best at certain times. Sometimes they get it wrong. Most of the times they get it right about when to release their film, and that's why. So it's not, you just don't make a movie and then just put it out whenever. They make a movie and then they figure out, once they've got their movie, they figure, okay, when would be best to put this out? What would it go well against? What would it not go well against? And then they follow that strategy. You guys have anything to add to that?
I'm more of a book guy, but I will tell you this: is that I read. This is fascinating to me. Is that in 1977, when Star Wars was opening, George Lucas had Mark Hamill doing ADR earlier in the week for the movie. So like that baby was set to come out May 25th, and on May 22nd they were still tinkering with it a little bit. How amazing is that? That 3 days later the world got this treasure, and May 22nd or 21st they're still not quite finished with it.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us for this installment of Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank the people at the table with me. First of all, over there, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
Where can you find me, John? I'll be in San Antonio this weekend at LOL Comedy Club Friday through Sunday, and you guys can check out the live show, The Schmoes. Somebody came back last night. Watch it on our YouTube channel.
Freshly back from her trip to New York, Miss Perri Nemiroff. Perri, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @PNemiroff, and you can see the behind the scenes of that whole trip from New York, which was a little too much fun, on Collider Behind the Scenes this Saturday at 2 p.m., so check that out.
Right beside me on Jedi Council a little bit later today, Mr. Kristian Harloff.
Well, like you just said, Jedi Council, make sure you check that out. We're going to have a fun panel. We've got the Schmodown tomorrow between Rachel Cushing, potential Rookie of the Year, we'll see, versus Nick Scarpino. Go ahead and check that out.
The delightful color-adorning Natasha Martinez. Natasha, where can people find you?
Martinez. You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at NatashaLexis_.
And, of course, right beside her, our own Wendy Lee.
On YouTube at The Movie Couple Channel, and at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
And you guys can simply follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, just at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.